lounging, son.
All right, welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name's Ryan, and with me today I have writer artist Joëlle Jones with me. Huge fan of her work. You know her from Lady Killer, Catwoman, and more recently the Future State Wonder Woman, which is probably I think my favorite or tied for my favorite book in the Future State line. So welcome, Joëlle.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So first off, I like to ask everybody when for their first time on the channel, like, what started your love for comics?
I think I started reading around when I was like 8 years old. My brother and his friends would come over and just read them in the basement, and then I'd usually either steal them or get their cast-offs and like trying to fit in.
So, like, what were do you remember what some of the first comics you were reading were, or like what you gravitated towards?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, it's been American comics. I've gone back and tried, like, I'm trying to learn manga, and it's there's a lot. So I don't know if you know. The first bunch of stuff I was reading is for sure it was a lot of X-Men. My very first one I think I got into was Punisher. Yeah, it was a lot of those, like a lot of X-Men and all the different teams that branched off of it. I really loved Generation X.
Yeah, I like that book too. That was a dope book.
Yeah, so yeah, and then just kind of then moving on to like indie books and stuff like that.
And so, what inspired you to get into art from moving from there and then eventually becoming a comic book creator?
Well, I was always drawing anyway, and I feel like comics was just a means to like funnel all that energy into one thing. You know, I like to sew, I liked to paint and craft and do all the things to like visual, like keeping my hands busy kind of things. And then comics came along, and I just realized that it was like super intimate. It was just me and the stories I get to tell. Not a lot of, you don't need a lot of stuff to do it anywhere. And I fell in love with it.
Like I said, I mean, I've read your other stuff, but your Catwoman was my favorite since Ed Brubaker did
that's nice.
all those years ago. So I mean, I've always loved that character. I love the dynamic that she kind of keeps Batman on his toes, and she's the only one that can really do it in the comic books. And I think you really got her character down, and like now you've created a new character, Yara Flor, which I fell in love with. I love the first and second issue. I'm very excited to be able to continue with the Wonder Girl ongoing. But I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how the creation of Yara came about.
It was a long, kind of confusing process. Like, it started out as a totally different project. It was big and it was broad, and it was brought to me, the idea of a Brazilian Wonder Woman, not initially for me to do it. I think they were asking a bunch of different Brazilian comic book artists and stuff like that, and I feel like they took a hard pass. It was just so broad in general. It was really difficult, and I think the pandemic hit, and then I just had all this time to sit and daydream and do research and think of a project or a way to make the story happen or work, and a lot about her character. And I think just all the things kind of coming together at once, where I took a job that a lot of people weren't too interested in, and a lot of challenges that came with that, but because of the pandemic I had all the time to do it.
I mean, I think you knocked it out of the park. I mean, I think my buddy Dylan and I, we've been going through each week of Future State, and the Wonder Woman and the Swamp Thing by Ron V are
the Swamp Thing.
I mean,
yeah,
we love, both of us love Swamp Thing so much, and I feel like you'd think that there's more Swamp Thing fans, but there really isn't, because I've tried to hand sell the Swamp Thing. The Wonder Woman was an easy sell for me because I work at a shop, so that was an easier sell for me than Swamp Thing. But those two books.
That's a good introductory, like the Future State Swamp Thing. I feel like is a good introductory. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's insane.
Couple of books just for people that have never read Swamp Thing. Like, it's so good. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I could say the same thing too for your Wonder Woman. It's like in those two issues, I fell in love with the character. I'm like, I want more. And I think they already teased the Wonder Girl ongoing before. I feel like before the first issue dropped, right? Before.
I think so, yeah.
because I'm a huge fan of your art. I was really upset when you left Catwoman. Still doing covers, so I'm very excited to see like the ongoing come about. You did say that it started out as something a little bit bigger, right? Before it turned into Future State. Was it part of was it part of whatever that 5G stuff was supposed to be, and it kind of morphed into something else? Is that what you were talking about?
I don't know the rules behind whether I can say or not. I don't know if I would get in trouble. I mean,
Okay,
I
yeah,
think
I don't want to get you in trouble.
yeah,
I know,
for to broad strokes, I think it
yeah.
was, as far as I know, because this started before even talk of 5G was going on. I
Okay.
think that a lot of people wanted there to be like, oh, what's the next big event? What are we going to do?
Mhm.
Um, and then, you know, it was the question of how do we keep the audience fresh? Like, how do we introduce more people to comic books? Do we need to maybe expand some characters and bring people in? And I think at some point it got tied into 5G. It was just like it's older than that. So it's been around for a
Okay.
while. It has seen so many different, because at first it wasn't going to be Wonder Girl. It was going to be like just a Wonder Woman title. And then like a TV show got involved, like all this stuff went on, all leading to just like me sitting alone in my studio drawing and then having a book come out. Yeah, it's been a journey.
Yeah, that's crazy. I had no idea that it went that far back. I know obviously there's rumors, you know what I mean? They're like, oh, there's gonna be a new Batman, there's gonna be a new Flash, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, so on and so on. And so I was just kind of curious, like where it all came from. But was it always when you finally pitched the Future State book and gonna be the two issues, was a Wonder Girl ongoing always kind of a part of that? Or was
Yeah.
it more the fans' reaction and how much they took to the character that kind of
No, I was working on issue 1 of Wonder Girl, and then I got an email from Jamie that said, "Stop what you're doing. I need you to do 2 random issues for Future State." And I
oh,
was like,
okay.
what do you, I don't even know what that is. And he's like, "Oh, it's going to be like, you know, in the far future. Yeah, give me 2 issues. Just come up with something." And I was like, "I'm actually in the middle of something and I'm really busy." And he's like, "No, you know, I really think you should." It was a polite way of like, "You're doing it anyway, or somebody else is going to do it." And I had fallen in love with her so much. And I love drawing her so much. The idea of somebody else doing her introduction, like I thought I was doing the introduction and then Future State came. So I was like, well, now I have to jump on that instead of doing, and now I'm back on issue 1. So
Oh, crazy. So you were already like living in this world with Yara. And
yeah.
that's probably I think that's probably why it came across like just so it flowed so naturally. Like the
Yeah.
character had been around.
People keep saying that, like, "Oh, she's so good at making it like a flesh out." I'm like, yeah, I've been fleshing her out for like a really long time.
Yeah, man, fuck. It's I mean, like from the design of her costume, I mean, the design of Hades that you did. Holy shit, that was fucking dope. That was one of the dopest visuals I've seen for Hades, I think in any comic book iteration. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
everybody has their own perception of it, but I hope we see more of Hades going forward. You know, Yara, obviously I've only read 2 issues with her, but she feels very different. She acts different than Diana. She definitely stands out on her own. What types of stories are you going to tell with her that like you couldn't necessarily tell with Diana?
I think the differences are really going to drive the story forward. Like, you know, I think you could drop, my intention is you could drop Yara like straight into like a George Perez situation and you get a completely different outcome from what Diana Prince would do. So, you know, even if I copied stories from the past, they wouldn't pan out the same way because
Mm,
it was important for me that she had a lot of like foibles and human characteristics. Instead of arriving as a goddess, she looks up to a goddess. Like
mhm.
she wants to be like Wonder Woman. I think a lot of people do. So I think her temperament might hold her back, but but that's the fun in it. Like, you know, I grew up, I also was a huge Greek mythology nerd, like so nerdy about it. And Hercules was always my favorite character. My favorite stories were about Hercules.
Mm.
And I love it when he'd get in a situation and he'd be like, "Oh, what the fuck is he gonna do? He's crazy." And, you know, and I want a character like that of just like drop her into a situation, and you might be a little concerned about how it's going to go.
And this is taking place in the Midwest?
In the Northwest.
Northwest. Okay, I'm
well,
sorry.
It's not taking place there. She was just she was born in Brazil and then raised in Idaho, and then the first issue starts with her for the very first time returning to Brazil. So I don't think we're going to be seeing
okay,
much of Idaho,
but she was, so she basically spent most of her life there.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And are we like I saw that in the Superman Wonder Woman Superman Wonder Woman feature state book, like we see some of the Brazilian gods. Are you going to touch on other mythologies besides Greek mythology in the book?
Oh, for sure. I'm having so much fun with Brazilian mythology. It's a lot of research.
Yeah, I don't know any of it, so like this is all.
Yeah, I'm trying to learn Portuguese at the same time so that I can make sense of a lot of YouTube videos and but I went to Brazil and I just fell in love with the people there so much, and I don't know, everybody's been so open. I'm very lucky they've been open to all of my questions that are really obnoxious, and if they don't know the answer, they're always willing to pass me on to somebody else that can help. And I've felt really supported by the Brazilian audience, and other comic book artists have been fantastic, and just kind of like giving me all the information and then some. Like it's really cool. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, man, it sounds like you're doing a shit ton of research for this book, like learning. Crazy.
Yeah,
Man.
I've never researched for a book like this before, ever.
Dude,
or like even in high school, I never researched anything this much.
I mean, it's at high school and school, it's different. Like it's not something for enjoyment. This is something you're obviously enjoying, and hearing you say it personally and then reading the book, like it's even more evident now, like as I'm thinking back on the pages and stuff, because it just like it exudes like a joy and like this excitement that comes out in that book. And I think that's probably why I loved the book so much. Same thing with Swamp Thing. In those, like even I talked to Ram V, and like hearing his like take on Swamp Thing, it's much like how you're talking about Yara, and the excitement that you guys have is very infectious in terms of like the product you guys are.
I hope so. I mean, I think it was coming off of Catwoman. She was not really in the greatest place. Like,
well,
she's bummed out after the wedding, and I really, really wanted to do a book where I'm like, just want everybody to have a good time. Like, I want you to pick up my book and have fun with me, and like, let's have a good time. Let's have some chuckles. Let's see an adventure. And I don't have any big broad ideas that I'm not going to teach anybody a lesson, but I want to have fun every day when I come to work and draw, and I want everybody to have fun with me. And I think you can always tell, I think, when an artist is having a good time.
Oh yeah, I mean that's it's funny you say that. I was just talking about this with my buddy. Sometimes comic books can almost take themselves too seriously, or have some sort of a message or existential like thoughts. It's like, dude, I just want to have fun. I want to pick up a comic book sometimes. I'm trying to escape the bullshit. I'm trying to have a good and
there's room for, like, I love big heavy books. Like in my spare time, I love to be depressed and read depressing stories. That's all I consume. But I feel like there's a little slice of something I could play with over here that maybe somebody else isn't doing.
Yeah, of course. And like, I'm the same way. Like I like a lot of stuff, but I feel like sometimes like, and when I'm saying this, I'm bringing up, there's a specific book. It was The Power Man and Iron Fist by David Walker and Sanford Green. Like the joy in that book, like it pops off the page. It makes you laugh out loud. And I just felt like I remember when that ended, and I was just very disappointed, because it was a comic book that made me laugh, that I enjoyed every single time I picked it up, and they canceled it. And I just felt like, I feel like sometimes, in terms of, I hate to say it, but the big two, right? That when we do get those kind of books, sometimes they don't necessarily last, or they get roped into tie-ins or whatever. And
yeah, They get lost in events. Yeah.
Right. So like it's cool to hear you say that, and it just I'm very excited for this book. I can't say it enough. I've probably said it like 15, 20 times already,
I
but
appreciate it.
yeah,
Yeah, it's the coolest thing for me to come out of it is some of the writers that have gotten to write her are also having fun. They're like, oh, she's a really fun character. Like I really had fun. I'm like, yeah. Like for me, the most important characteristic I wanted her to have was joie de vivre. Like I want there to be this genuine love of life and people and excitement. And, I'm glad that it's coming across.
and are we gonna see how she gets Jerry?
Yeah. Yes.
My friend was like, because he loved Jaro, like he wouldn't shut up about it for like the past like year, and he said Jerry's gonna be the Jaro of 2020. How people are just gonna love him.
It's so weird. I was on a timeline and I'm not the best at writing. I really drag my feet on scripts. I like to just get to the drawing bit. And my editor kept asking me like, the Pegasus needs a name. He needs a name. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like, and I was looking for houses at the time and it was my real estate agent's name. It was Jerry. And I found myself saying his name to him like all the time. I'm like, what about these skylights, Jerry? Tell me more about these windows, Jerry. And it made me laugh. Like, I like that name. It's funny.
I mean, it is. I love it. It's a perfect like. I would never think of Pegasus's name would be Jerry, but it works and it's hilarious. So
I'm glad it works.
yeah, and you talk about like you wanting to get to the drawing part. When like do you write full scripts for yourself, or do you loosely plot something out, draw it, then script it?
Yeah, I don't write for full scripts at all.
Okay, cool.
And I've gotten into arguments with editors about it. I try. I can't do it. I get too excited to get to it. Like I'll write a scene. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to draw this. But you have like 10 more pages to write. And then the next day I'll come to work and I'm like, screw it. I'm drawing. I don't have time for that. So I usually just like I'll do bullet points of what happens. I never do dialogue until the art's finished, and then strange things emerge. I don't know how my books come together. It's a mess.
It flows perfectly, and yeah, I mean, like I said, this is a book that I think, like for me, this is what I think that Wonder Girl and the Swamp Thing series that are coming out are going to probably be the breakouts from the Infinite Frontier line, because they're unlike the rest of the line. Like, it's not tied to Batman. Yes, Yara Flor is technically in the Wonder Woman family, but she seems kind of like off on her own. I kind of curious, like, are you going to, at least maybe just for the first arc, maybe not always, but is she kind of going to be in her own place, not really connected so much in terms of like the main DCU and what's going on over there?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a shit ton of cameos. Like I think in just the first issue alone.
Okay.
But it's basically like I wanted the first arc, or like the first trade at least, to be about her fighting for her place, I think, in the DC universe with everybody else. So she is going to be off on her own, and she's going to have to fight for it and earn it and go through a lot of shit to get there. And I think, hopefully the journey is going to be worth it. But I definitely wanted to give her own time, her own breathing space in like the first trade at least.
Mm-hmm. And how long how far out do you kind of have stuff planned out for, if allowed, if like allowed to do it,
I don't even know what happens in the next issue. I do have a really big event at the end of, well, it'll be part of the 12 issues. And there'll be other books involved in that, hopefully. And yeah, so I've got like a 12 issue idea. I just don't know the sequence of events, how fast, how slow we're going to get there, how many scenes in between time, like to explain it, what I'm doing, or to build to it. There's just so many moving pieces. And I usually just kind of wait till I get to that issue to figure it out. I shouldn't. My poor editor is going to get ulcers.
And what do you hope people take away from the book? Like, what is your like goal with the character?
I don't know. I always just had her as I saw an opportunity for a DC character that didn't exist. You know, I love sad Batman, but it's I felt like there's just like a little missing piece of, if you've got the Justice League, and like let's just say that this isn't going to happen that I know of, but like it did in Future State. So like say she's on Justice League and everybody's gearing up to get into a fight. There's not one character where you don't know what they're going to do. Are they going to pop off? You know, they're a little unstable. I like that element to feed off of really stoic characters, or you know, these perfect beings like Superman and stuff like that. Somebody to play off of them that, you know, you might have to keep an eye on because you're not quite sure. Like a wild card, I guess is the best way to boil it down. But like not zany, but yeah.
Okay. And you know, besides the cameos, besides Yara, besides Jerry, what's the rest of the supporting cast look like? How big is the supporting cast? Who's your other favorite character maybe to write besides Yara in the book?
It's a really big supporting cast. I torture myself all the time. So I've got a lot of Greek gods showing up. I've got a lot of Brazilian monsters and lesser gods showing up, and then bigger ones. She's got love interests. She's got villains. She's got variety pack of colors. Like it's a pretty big cast, but I love designing it so much. So when each new character pops up, I just have such a fun time like designing the look of them.
Have you ever thought, or like, what is your opinion of Black Canary? Because I've always thought that you would do a pretty dope Black Canary book.
Black Canary, I've never thought about doing it. I mean, yeah, I don't know if I've drawn her for commissions, but I don't think I've ever drawn her in an issue or anything. She's fun. Yeah, she'd be a blast.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you'd do an awesome job. When we were I was at the shop and a customer was like, "Oh, like asking my opinion what I thought you would do next." And this is way before Future State. And I threw out Black Canary and he was like, "Dude, that would be dope." So,
Yeah, I think I might. I like the idea of Birds of Prey too, like an ensemble cast. I think would be really fun.
yeah, we need a Birds of Prey book again. I think that's that always the Gail Simone's Birds of Prey was always one of my favorite books. You know, Oracle and Huntress, and before it kind of got like big because of the movie and they changed the cast, it didn't feel like Birds of Prey to me. But that's because I read the comics and I'm stuck in my ways, you know.
Yeah, I'm the same way about stuff. Yeah.
But you know, other than Wonder Girl, is there any other projects that you got coming up that you can talk about, whether it's or tease?
I'm working on Lady Killer, which is my creator-owned book. I'm working on the 3rd series of that, but I've because of Wonder Girls and the way I don't get to do very much because I'm not outsourcing the art to anybody else. So I'm only going to do like I think a 48-page issue. So when I'm finished with my Yara issues and then pass it on to somebody else, I'm going to be taking like a 2-month break to bang out a Lady Killer book and maybe a vacation, I hope.
Yeah, hopefully everything opens up by the time that happens.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm tired of us. I'm tired of no concerts. I'm tired of not being able to go to a movie. I mean, this is just because I'm in LA, so we were really fucked, you know.
I just want to sit in a bar, like just sitting in a dark bar. I didn't know how much I loved it.
It's great. I mean, you really don't know how much you miss doing like little things when you're told you can't do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't miss small talk.
Yeah,
that can go.
Yeah,
but yeah. I it's bizarre. I'm totally a loner. I thought, and then now it's been like a year and I'm like, oh, I'm not as hardcore of a loner as I thought I was. I miss
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. It's weird. Like in the beginning, I was like, oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll sit at home and I'll just read this massive pile of books that I've accumulated that I just keep adding to. And then I read through it and then I'm like, fuck, what do I do now? You know, like I have to do something.
You got to learn the ukulele like everybody else. Just
Yeah.
get a puppy, whatever it takes.
Yeah, no, I mean this is the only reason I started the YouTube channel was because I had to do something with my time. I mean, I had the website and I would write, but it just wasn't enough anymore. So like this kind of broke up the monotony. Has this past year being kind of forced inside, has it affected your creativity or has it kind of at times increased your productivity?
Oh, it was a roller coaster. In the beginning, everything was so uncertain. I think it was really scary. I couldn't get a thing done, I think, for like a month. I mean, I embroidered everything in my apartment. I learned how to embroider. I'm like, this is great. Then I moved on to felting. And now I'm doing like black work embroidery. But you know what? I feel like it was, even when things started to settle down a little bit more and people were starting to get back to work a little bit, like, I mean, other artists were starting to able to draw again. Because I think in the beginning, pretty much everybody I knew was just, your brain's somewhere else. You just couldn't focus on the work. And
Right.
It took me a long time to start drawing again. But I think it was because I was working on Yara, and I was like, well, just work on her costume. Like, you don't have to do too much, but just doodle away ideas that you like. So I designed like 30 costumes for Yara. And then it kind of got boiled down to like the one thing that it is, which I chose at the last minute out of the 30, and with all intentions of changing it. But now I've drawn it, everybody else has drawn it, so I can't really change it now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really a bummer in the beginning. I didn't work at all. And then I slowly was able to get back into it, but it took a while.
Besides working on your own stuff, what are some of your favorite creators that you're following right now, or your favorite books that maybe that people do know, maybe some stuff that people aren't aware of?
I'm a huge fan of Black Sad, and I try to push that into everybody's hands.
That one's dope.
I love it. Yeah, it's off the beaten path for some people.
Mm-hmm.
I love, is it Naoki Urasawa?
Yes. Yes.
Monster.
Yeah, that's so dope.
Obsessed with, yeah, I love it. I think it's like it's the only manga that I've finished ever.
I finished it during the pandemic. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. That was the last time I had that comic book experience, because I was reading it like as it was getting translated and put out.
Mm-hmm.
And my friend would go to the library and like get the latest one and like super excited. Yeah, I love that series.
Have you read 20th Century Boys?
Yes.
That one's dope.
Yeah, that's really.
Yeah, they have the new series that just started coming out. I think it's Azadora, I think is how you pronounce it.
Oh.
Yeah, they just started the smaller volumes, not the thick ones like Monster is collected in, but the thin ones. Yeah, they just started releasing those.
Is he's doing the whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're up to like probably like 7 or 8 maybe in Japan. But they're just now translating them.
Oh my gosh, that's exciting.
Yeah. You'll if you loved Monster and 20th Century Boys, you'll definitely love this. That was actually, I think 20th Century Boys was the first manga I read. I wasn't ever reading manga. And then, I was working at the shop. I was talking to the manager and I'm like, dude, I really want to get into manga. I have never read it. You know what I mean? And he's like, well, try this. I knocked that out. And I got both series during the pandemic.
Yeah, Monster hit me. I don't know. I think I was the only like manga I'd been exposed to was like Ranma 1/2, and it's just not my thing. And I just like really dark stories. And then it was Jamie Rich put it in my hand, and he's like, "You will love this." And I was like, "Oh yes, I do."
And just a couple more questions before I let you go. I wanted to ask, like, what is the best advice you could give for a creative, or the best advice you have been giving yourself?
Hmm. Like somebody wanting to get in the industry, or somebody that's
Yeah.
already. Yeah.
I mean, to anybody.
I think. Well, the yeah, I had a weird hump in my career in the beginning where I was doing like just YA books and like romance books, and not saying anything bad about those genres, but I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't what I wanted to do for a living. I didn't have fun. And that's how I started writing, is that nobody would really give me the job I wanted. So I had to make up a job for myself to show what I could do and what I was excited about. And I feel like if you're trying to break into the industry, don't don't go for don't go for Batman, don't go for Superman, don't go for even D-list characters. I would say put something out of yours in the world that's uniquely you. And then, if you still want to work for the big two, those things will come. But, I think kind of finding your own voice in your own little story or collaborating with somebody else is the best way to get in.
Awesome. And what has been the most what has been your the favorite project that you've worked on so far in your career?
It's always the one I'm currently on, I think. Like as soon as one's done, I'm like, oh, thank God that's over. And I'm just excited about whatever's next. But I think for sure Lady Killer is my favorite thing that I've ever done. And it's the only thing I haven't been able to let go of. Like any time I have an extended period of time, like, even in the beginning of the pandemic, I was drawing characters from that book without even realizing it. Like watching TV and then randomly doodling characters from the book. I'm like, I guess I missed this book.
Yeah.
But then I jumped back on it and started working on it. I'm like, yeah, I missed this. I think that's the only like enduring one long term that I'll probably never let go of.
Oh, and you know what? I wanted to ask, like you said, you do all sorts of different artistic things besides, writing, besides drawing. Besides doing comics, what is your favorite creative out?
Um, I love sewing and embroidery when I'm at home. An outlet. I used to enjoy karaoke, but I was a bartender at a karaoke bar, and so um, I love really bad singing karaoke. Like I can't do karaoke in LA. I've done it. It's terrible for me because everybody's so good. It's not supposed to be good. You're supposed to have fun, like
Yeah.
screaming. Yeah, so I think that like just drinking and doing karaoke and starting bar fights. No, don't do that. I wish that was my story, but it's not.
I would probably be the one to, I mean, I don't drink anymore, but if I was, I'd probably be the one starting it, and then I'd probably end up on the floor. That was my story when I was drinking. That's why I stopped.
The girl in the corner fishing cherries out of the garnish tray and watching that riveted.
um, so before we get out of here, if you could just quickly share one last thought on Yara and what you want to share to get fans excited about the book, and share where we could find you online, and I will drop those links down below as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be a blast. Like, it's super fun. Like I'm past deadline at the moment, but I still am excited to draw her. Like, I'm having a great time. And yeah, she's got some cool shit happening. I just designed this amazing villain I'm so excited about. So I don't know. Uh, oh yeah, and as far as social media, I'm quitting Twitter next month, and I'm very excited about that. So I'm just on Instagram, and it's just my name, Joëlle Jones.
All right, cool. Well, like I said, I'll drop those links down below, and thank you again for taking time to talk to me today. It's been a pleasure, and I can't wait to do this with you again sometime.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on.